The river doesn't care about beauty. It receives the body without ceremony, pulling the white fabric down into its cold embrace. The wedding dress billows like a jellyfish, then grows heavy, a shroud made of silk and water. Samuel Chun was walking the riverfront because he couldn't sleep. Insomnia had been his companion for 5 years, ever since Chicago. He kept a small apartment 12 blocks from St. Mercy specifically because he could walk to work at 4 in the morning when the nightmares came. This particular night, technically morning 5:47 a.m. according to his watch, he'd given up on sleep entirely. The fog sat thick on the Willamette, the kind that made the city feel like it existed in a separate dimension. Samuel walked with his hands buried in his coat pockets, his breath visible in small clouds. He was thinking about Mrs. Alvarez, the 72-year-old woman scheduled for a triple bypass in 11 hours, when he heard the splash, not a loud splash. That was the thing. In movies, people fell into water with dramatic violence. This was quieter, almost polite. The sound of something surrendering to gravity. He ran before his mind fully processed what he'd heard. His legs carried him along the riverbank, his eyes scanning the dark water. There, 30 feet out, something white moving beneath the surface. Samuel didn't hesitate. His coat hit the ground, then his shoes. The water shocked his system like electricity, cold enough to stop his heart. He swam hard, his surgeon's hands cutting through the current, his mind already calculating. Hypothermia sets in at 20 minutes in 50-degree water. Brain damage at 30. Death at 45. He reached her in 40 seconds that felt like 40 minutes. She was face down, her wedding dress spread around her like angel wings. He grabbed fabric, pulled her toward him, turned her face up. Eyes closed. Blue lips. He couldn't tell if she was breathing. The swim back nearly killed them both. The current fought him, and the dress fought him harder, wrapping around his legs like it wanted to pull them both under. His muscles screamed. His lungs burned. But his hands that had held human hearts, that had sutured arteries thinner than thread, those hands held on. He dragged her onto the bank and immediately tilted her head back. Her airway was clear. He checked for a pulse, weak, thready, but there. She wasn't breathing. Samuel placed his hands on her sternum and began compressions. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. His medical training became automatic, his body performing the choreography of life-saving. While his mind stayed clear and focused. On the 4th round, she coughed. Water poured from her mouth. Her eyes flew open, green eyes wild and terrified, and she grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "Don't," she gasped. "Don't call." Then she saw his face and stopped. Her grip loosened. She stared at him like he was a ghost. "You're alive," Samuel said, the words coming out shaky. His hands were shaking too. They never shook in the operating room. "You're going to be okay. I'm a doctor. I'm going to call." "No." Her voice was stronger now. "No hospitals. No police. You nearly drowned. You need—" "I jumped." The words came out flat, final. "I jumped, and you should have let me go." Samuel stared at her. Water dripped from his hair into his eyes. Around them, the city was beginning to wake. Lights coming on in apartments across the river. The first cars crossing the bridge overhead. "I can't do that," he said quietly. "I'm a doctor." She laughed, then a sound like breaking glass. "Then you've just made a terrible mistake." He called 911 from his cell phone while she sat shivering on the riverbank. She didn't try to run. She just sat there in her ruined wedding dress, her hair plastered to her skull, her eyes fixed on the dark water like she was mourning a lover. The ambulance arrived in 6 minutes. Samuel gave them the basics: near drowning, approximately 3 minutes submersion, pulse restored, patient responsive but disoriented. He didn't mention what she'd said about jumping. He wasn't sure. The paramedics loaded her onto the gurney. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Her expression was complicated: gratitude, anger, fear, something else he couldn't name. "What's your name?" she asked. "Dr. Samuel Chun. I work at St. Mercy." She nodded slowly. "Then I suppose I'll see you there. What's your name?" But the paramedics were already closing the ambulance doors. Through the window, he saw her mouth move, but he couldn't hear the words. The ambulance pulled away, lights flashing in the fog. Samuel stood alone on the riverbank in his soaked clothes. his phone in his hand, his heart still pounding that he should go home. Change. Maybe catch an hour of sleep before his shift. Instead, he walked straight to St. Mercy Hospital. He needed to know who she was. And more than that, he needed to know what had put her in that revengetextory. Mercy's emergency room was in full morning chaos when Samuel walked through the doors. A homeless man was shouting about government surveillance. A mother held a feverish toddler. 2 nurses were restraining a drunk who'd punched through a window. Doctor Anita Patel spotted Samuel immediately. She took one look at his wet clothes and raised an eyebrow. Interesting morning walk? Where's the near-drowning victim? The woman in the wedding dress. Ambulance brought her in 15 minutes ago. Anita's expression shifted. Trauma Bay 3. Why? I pulled her out of the river. Anita studied his face. You look like hell, Sam. I need to see her. You need dry clothes and coffee. Not necessarily in that order. But she was already walking toward Trauma Bay 3, and Samuel followed. The woman Lydia, according to the chart, was sitting upright on the exam table. Someone had given her a hospital gown and a heated blanket. Her hair had been toweled off, and now it fell in damp waves around her shoulders. She was beautiful, Samuel noticed distantly. But it was a broken kind of beauty, like a stained glass window after a storm. A uniformed police officer stood in the corner, notebook out. Standard procedure for potential suicide attempts. Lydia's eyes found Samuel's immediately. Something passed between them: recognition, conspiracy, danger. He couldn't tell which. That's him, she said to the officer. That's the man who saved me. The officer, young, maybe 25, still eager, turned to Samuel. Officer Hayes, Portland PD. Sir, can you tell me what happened? Samuel recited the facts. The splash. The swim. The resuscitation. He left out the part where she'd asked him not to call anyone. He left out the part where she'd said he'd made a terrible mistake. Did she say anything to you? Officer Hayes asked. Before you called 911? Lydia's eyes were on Samuel. Waiting. She was disoriented, Samuel said. Confused. That's normal after near drowning. It was the first time he'd lied to police. The lie felt heavy in his mouth. Officer Hayes made a note. Miss Brennan here says she slipped on the riverbank. Says she was walking in her wedding dress because, well, she hasn't explained that part yet. I had a fight with my fiancé, Lydia said. Her voice was calm, controlled. At our wedding. I walked out. I wanted to be alone. I went to the river to think and I slipped. That's all. In a wedding dress. At 5 in the morning. I wasn't thinking clearly. Officer Hayes looked skeptical. Your fiancé know you're here? Something flickered across Lydia's face. I'd prefer you didn't call him. Ma'am, you nearly died. I think he'd want to know. I'm fine now. Thanks to Dr. Chun. She looked at Samuel again. I'm very grateful. The way she said it made it sound like a warning. Doctor Patel ordered a full workup. Chest X-ray, blood work, psychological evaluation. Lydia submitted to it all with quiet compliance. Samuel watched from a distance, unable to shake the feeling that he'd stepped into something dangerous. At 8:30 a.m., Detective Rachel Kovac arrived. She was tall, sharp-featured, with iron gray hair pulled into a tight bun. She wore a leather jacket over a white blouse, and she moved with the economy of motion that came from 2 decades of investigating human cruelty. She found Samuel in the doctor's lounge, drinking his 3rd cup of coffee. Dr. Chun. She flashed her badge. Detective Kovac, homicide. Homicide. Samuel set down his coffee. Nobody died. Not yet. She sat across from him without being invited. Tell me about Lydia Brennan. I pulled her out of the river. That's all I know. You know she's engaged to Marcus Thorne. The name meant nothing to Samuel. His confusion must have shown. Defense attorney, Kovac explained. Big shot. Won 3 high-profile murder cases in the last year. Getting ready to announce a congressional run. His wedding was supposed to be this afternoon. Big society event, 500 guests, catered by Jacques. She said she had a fight with her fiancé. Did she say what about? No. Kovac pulled out her notebook, flipped it open. Thorne reported her missing at 4:30 this morning. Said she'd gone out for a walk at 2 a.m. and never came back. He was worried. Wanted us to start searching. She looked up at Samuel. Now, why would a bride-to-be go for a walk at 2 a.m. on her wedding day? I don't know. And why would she end up in the river in her wedding dress 3 hours later? She says she slipped. You believe that? Samuel hesitated. It was the hesitation that gave him away. Kovac leaned forward. Doctor-patient confidentiality doesn't apply if you're not her doctor. And it definitely doesn't apply if you think someone's in danger. So I'll ask again, what did she say to you on that riverbank? Samuel made a decision. She said she jumped. She said I should have let her go. Kovac's expression didn't change, but she wrote something in her notebook. Suicide attempt? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe. He stopped. Or maybe someone threw her in. The words hung in the air between them. There are bruises, Samuel said quietly. On her upper arms. I saw them when the paramedics moved her. The kind you get when someone grabs you hard. You didn't mention that to Officer Hayes. I wasn't sure what they meant. They could be from anything. But you don't think they are. It wasn't a question. No, Samuel admitted. I don't. The UNRVNG detective Kovac questioned Lydia in an empty consultation room. Samuel wasn't present. He had no legitimate reason to be, but Dr. Patel stood in for the hospital, and she gave him the details later. Lydia had stuck to her story. She'd fought with Marcus about something she wouldn't specify. She'd left their hotel suite wearing her wedding dress because she wasn't thinking straight. She'd walked to the river. She'd slipped. And the bruises on your arms? Kovac had asked. Marcus grabbed me. During the argument. He was upset. He didn't mean to hurt me. What were you fighting about? Wedding jitters. Cold feet. Does it matter? It might. It doesn't. Kovac had pushed, but Lydia was a wall. Polite, calm, unmovable. She'd thanked the detective for her concern. She'd promised she wasn't in danger. She'd refused a psychological hold. Legally, there was nothing they could do. She was an adult. She hadn't committed a crime. If she wanted to walk out of the hospital, she could walk out. But she didn't walk out. She asked to speak to Dr. Chin. Samuel found her in a private room on the 4th floor. Hospital policy after a potential suicide attempt, 24-hour observation, even if the patient denied everything. She was standing by the window, looking out at the river. The hospital gown made her look vulnerable, but her posture was anything but. She held herself like a soldier at attention. You lied for me, she said without turning around. To the police. I omitted details. That's different. Is it? Now she turned. Her green eyes were clear, sharp, assessing. Why? Samuel didn't have a good answer. Instinct. Instinct. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And what do your instincts tell you about me? That you're terrified. That you're lying about what happened. And that you're protecting someone who doesn't deserve it. Her smile faded. You don't know anything about me. Then tell me. Why? So you can tell Detective Kovac? So she can build a case against Marcus. Is there a case to build? Lydia was quiet for a long moment. Then she walked to the bed and sat down heavily, suddenly looking exhausted. I can't talk about this. Can't or won't? Does it matter? Samuel pulled up a chair. He was violating about 6 different protocols, but he couldn't seem to stop himself. I saw your bruises. Someone hurt you. People hurt each other all the time. Not like that. You don't know what like that means. Her voice was sharp now, angry. You pulled a stranger out of a river. You did your good deed. Walk away, Dr. Chen. Forget this happened. I can't. Why not? Because there was something in her eyes that reminded him of Chicago, of the patient he'd lost, of the guilt that followed him like a shadow. Because I saved your life, he said instead. And I need to know I didn't save it just so someone else could destroy it. Lydia stared at him. For the first time, her armor cracked. You don't want this, she whispered. You don't want to be involved in this. I'm already involved. Then you're a fool. The door opened. Marcus Thorne walked in like he owned the room. Maybe he did. He had that kind of presence, the kind that made spaces rearrange themselves around him. He was handsome in the way politicians are handsome. Symmetrical features, expensive haircut, a smile that had been practiced in a mirror until it looked genuine. He wore slacks and a dress shirt, no tie. He looked like he hadn't slept. His eyes went straight to Lydia. Thank God. He crossed to her in 3 strides, tried to embrace her. She flinched. It was subtle. Anyone else might have missed it. But Samuel saw it. And from the way Marcus's jaw tightened, he'd seen it too. Baby, Marcus said softly. I've been so worried. When the police called. He looked at Samuel for the first time. You must be Dr. Chen, the man who saved her. He extended his hand. Samuel shook it. Marcus's grip was crushing, possessive. Thank you, Marcus said. His voice was warm, sincere. But his eyes were cold. I don't know what I would have done if. I was just doing my job. Still, I'm grateful. Very grateful. Marcus turned back to Lydia. Let's get you out of here. I've called off the wedding, obviously. Everyone understands. We'll reschedule once you're feeling better. I'm not leaving yet, Lydia said. The doctors want to keep me for observation. I'll sign whatever forms they need. I can take care of you at home. I'm staying. The temperature in the room dropped. Marcus's smile didn't waver, but something dangerous moved behind his eyes. Lydia. His voice was still gentle, but there was steel underneath. You've been through a trauma. You need rest. You need to be somewhere comfortable. I'm comfortable here. No, you're not. You're in a hospital gown in a room that smells like disinfectant. Come home. She wants to stay, Samuel heard himself say. Hospital protocol after a water submersion incident is 24-hour observation. Non negotiable. Marcus looked at him. Really looked at him. Samuel felt himself being evaluated, measured, categorized as a threat. I understand protocol, doctor. But surely exceptions can be made. Not this exception. I see. Marcus's smile widened. And you're her doctor? I'm a doctor. That's enough. Actually, it's not. Unless you're directly responsible for her care, you don't have the authority to keep her here against her will. He wasn't wrong. Samuel was a cardiovascular surgeon. He had no jurisdiction over an ER patient. I'll speak to Dr. Patel, Samuel said. She'll confirm the 24 hours. Do that. Marcus turned back to Lydia. I'll be back in an hour. We'll sort this out then. He leaned down, kissed her forehead. Lydia closed her eyes and Samuel saw her hands clench into fists. Marcus left without another word. The room felt larger without him, easier to breathe in. He won't let me stay, Lydia said quietly. He'll find a way. Why don't you want to leave? She looked at Samuel. Because the moment I walk out of this hospital, I disappear. What does that mean? It means you've done all you can. It means thank you for saving me. And I'm sorry I dragged you into this. And please forget you ever saw me in that river. Samuel stood. I can't do that. You have to. No. He moved to the door then stopped. I failed someone once. In Chicago. I made a mistake during surgery and she died. I've spent 5 years trying to atone for that. I'm not failing again. Lydia's expression softened. This isn't about atonement. Then what's it about? She was quiet for a long time. Then, when he lifted my wedding dress to help me into the car, he saw something. Something I'd been hiding for months. She looked at Samuel. Do you understand? No. Good. Keep it that way. Samuel found Dr. Patel in her office. She was eating a sandwich and reviewing patient charts, multitasking with the efficiency of someone who'd worked 70-hour weeks for 3 decades. I need you to keep Lydia Brennan here for 24 hours, Samuel said without preamble. Anita looked up. Medical necessity or personal crusade? Both. That's not how this works, Sam. She's in danger. From her fiancé. Yes. Anita set down her sandwich. Do you have proof? I have bruises. I have instinct. I have her terror every time she looks at him. None of that is proof. She sighed. Look, I understand. You want to help. But we can't keep a patient against her will without a legitimate medical reason. And we definitely can't keep her if her fiancé, who legally is her next of kin until she says otherwise, wants to take her home. She doesn't want to go. Then she needs to say that, clearly, on the record, to Detective Kovac. She won't. Then my hands are tied. Samuel slammed his palm on the desk. The sound echoed in the small office. Anita didn't flinch. 5 years ago, Samuel said quietly, I had a patient named Jessica Moreno, 32 years old, routine valve replacement. I was tired. I'd been operating for 16 hours straight. I made a mistake, one tiny mistake 2 millimeters off on a suture. She died on the table. Sam, I know I can't save everyone. I know medicine isn't perfect. But this is different. This woman is drowning, and it has nothing to do with the river. Anita was quiet. Then, I'll give you 12 hours. After that, if she wants to leave, she leaves. And you need to let her go. It wasn't enough. But it was something. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just don't make me regret this. Samuel's shift officially started at noon. He had 2 surgeries scheduled, a bypass and a valve replacement. His hands were steady in the oar, his mind focused. Surgery was the one place where he could control outcomes, where precision mattered more than luck. Between surgeries, he checked on Lydia. She was sleeping or pretending to sleep. He didn't wake her at 4 p.m. Detective Kovac arrived again. She found Samuel in the hallway outside Lydia's room. I did some digging on Marcus Thorne, she said without preamble. Clean record. Not even a parking ticket. Won a lot of high-profile cases defending wealthy clients. Makes about $300,000 a year. Came from nothing, foster care, worked his way through law school. American dream, right? What else? 2 ex-girlfriends. I tracked them down. Talked to them off the record. Kovac's expression was grim. One wouldn't say much. Seemed nervous. The other, she talked. Said Marcus was intense. Said he needed to control everything. Said when she tried to leave him, he showed up at her work, her home, her parents' house. Never threatened her directly. Just appeared. Everywhere. Until she filed a restraining order. What happened then? He backed off. Immediately. Told the judge it was a misunderstanding. The order expired, and he never contacted her again. But he found someone new. Lydia Brennan. Classical pianist. Some talent according to reviews. Met Marcus at a charity gala 18 months ago. Engaged 6 months later. Private life, not much social media. No red flags. Until she ended up in the river. Until that. Kovac looked at the closed door of Lydia's room. I tried to talk to her again. She won't budge on her story. Says everything's fine. Says Marcus is a good man. She's scared. Obviously. But scared of what? Him. Or something else. Samuel thought about what Lydia had said. When he lifted my wedding dress, he saw something. I don't know, he admitted. Well, figure it out. Because my captain won't let me investigate without evidence. And right now, all I have is a woman who slipped on a riverbank. She paused. Also, Thorne called my captain. Complained about police harassment. Said his fiancée is embarrassed and traumatized and we're making it worse. He's covering his tracks. Maybe. Or maybe she really did slip, and we're manufacturing a case that doesn't exist. But Kovac didn't believe that. Samuel could see it in her eyes. 12 hours, Samuel said. Patel gave me 12 hours. Then make them count. At 6 p.m., Samuel went to Lydia's room with dinner. Hospital food, but he'd convinced the cafeteria to include a decent pasta dish and chocolate pudding. She was awake, sitting up, staring at nothing. You need to eat, he said. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. You went through a major physical trauma. Your body needs fuel. She took the tray without enthusiasm, picked at the pasta. Samuel sat in the visitor's chair. Tell me about Marcus, he said. Why? Because I need to understand. Understand what? What you're so afraid of. Lydia set down her fork. You really want to know? Yes. Marcus is extraordinary. He's brilliant, charming, successful. When I met him, I felt like I'd won the lottery. He swept me off my feet, literally. Flowers every day. Love notes. He came to all my concerts. He made me feel like I was the most important person in the world. That sounds nice. It was. At first. She looked at her hands. Then he started making suggestions. About my career. About my friends. Little things. Maybe you shouldn't tour so much. Maybe you should focus on our life together. I thought he was being protective. I thought it was sweet. Samuel waited. Then he started checking my phone. Reading my emails. Asking where I'd been, who I'd talked to. Getting upset if I didn't text him back immediately. I told myself it was because he loved me. That he was just invested. When did it escalate? 6 months ago. I was offered a position with the Berlin Philharmonic. 3-year contract. My dream job. She laughed bitterly. Marcus said I couldn't go. Said we were building a life together, and that meant sacrifices. I told him I'd go anyway. We could make it work. Long distance for a while, then I'd come back. What did he do? He proposed. In front of 200 people at a gala. Everyone watching, everyone cheering. How could I say no? She looked at Samuel. So I didn't. I said yes. And the next day I called Berlin and turned down the position. You regretted it. Every day. So last night we had the rehearsal dinner. Everyone was celebrating. Marcus gave a speech about how lucky he was, how I was his everything. And all I could think was, this is forever. This is my life now. She stood, walked to the window. The sun was setting, painting the river in shades of gold and red. At 2 a.m. I woke up. Marcus was asleep next to me. I got up, put on my wedding dress. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to see myself in it one last time. I went to the roof of the hotel. And I stood there thinking I could jump. I could end this. But you didn't. No. Instead, I went to the river. I thought maybe I'd just walk. Clear my head. But when I got there, Marcus was there. Samuel's blood went cold. He followed you? He has a tracker on my phone. I didn't know until last night. Her voice was hollow. He asked what I was doing. I told him I needed time alone. He got angry. Said I was being ungrateful. Said he'd given me everything. Said I owed him. What happened then? We fought. Really fought. I told him I didn't want to marry him. I told him I wanted Berlin, my career, my life back. And he grabbed me, you saw the bruises. He said I was confused, that I was having a breakdown. He said we'd get through it together. And then, Lydia turned from the window. Her eyes were bright with tears. And then I ran. I ran toward the river. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking. Maybe I just wanted to get away. But he caught me at the edge. We struggled. And then she stopped. Then what? I don't remember. I remember his hands on me. I remember the sound of the water. And then I was drowning. Did he push you? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe I fell. Or maybe I jumped. She wiped her eyes. Does it matter? Yes. It absolutely matters. Why? Either way, I ended up in that river. Either way, you pulled me out. Either way, I'm still trapped. You're not trapped. You can leave him. File a restraining order. Press charges for assault. With what evidence? His word against mine? He's a defense attorney, Dr. Chun. He knows how this works. And he has friends, powerful friends. Judges, prosecutors, politicians. So you do nothing. I survive. That's what I do. Samuel stood. That's not surviving. That's dying slowly. Maybe that's all I deserve. Why would you say that? Because there's something you don't know. Something I haven't told anyone. She walked to the bed, lifted the blanket, pulled up the hospital gown to reveal her lower abdomen that Samuel's breath caught. There, just above her pelvic bone, was a scar. Fresh, maybe 3 months old. The kind of scar that came from surgery. Last summer, Lydia said quietly, I got pregnant. I didn't plan it. Marcus was overjoyed. He started planning immediately, names, nurseries, schools. He saw it as cementing our life together. What did you see it as? A prison sentence. She lowered the gown. I told him I wasn't ready. He said I'd feel differently once the baby came. I told him I wanted to wait. He said we couldn't wait, that God had blessed us. I realized then that he'd tampered with my birth control. I couldn't prove it, but I knew. Jesus. So I made a choice. I went to a clinic. I had an abortion. I told Marcus I'd miscarried. Did he believe you? At first. But then, the night before the wedding, She swallowed hard. We were getting dressed. He kissed my stomach. And he felt the scar. He asked what it was. I lied. Said it was from an appendectomy, an emergency surgery while he was out of town. But he didn't believe you. I don't know. But the way he looked at me, I knew I couldn't marry him. Not after lying about that. Not after everything. Samuel understood now. When he lifted your wedding dress, he said slowly, he saw the scar. Yes. And if he investigates, he'll find out. He'll know I lied. He'll know I terminated his child. She looked at Samuel. He won't forgive that. He won't forgive anything. So you think he pushed you? I think he meant to kill me. And I think if I leave this hospital, he'll find another way to finish what he started. The truth Samuel went straight to Detective Kovac. She was in her car outside the hospital, drinking gas station coffee and reviewing her notes that he told her everything. The pregnancy, the abortion, the scar, the confrontation on the riverbank. Kovac listened without interrupting. When Samuel finished, she was quiet for a long moment. It's still not enough, she said finally. What do you mean, not enough? He tampered with her birth control. He tracked her phone. He followed her to the river. None of which we can prove. The birth control? Speculation. The phone tracker? Lots of couples do that. Consensually. The fight at the river? No witnesses. No physical evidence. She nearly died. And she says she slipped. Unless she changes her story, on the record, there's no case. She's terrified to change her story. He's threatened her. Has she said that? Explicitly. Samuel faltered. No. Then my hands are tied. I can't arrest a man for almost killing his fiancée if the fiancée won't admit she's in danger. So she just goes back to him. Unless we get evidence, yes. Samuel slammed his hand against the car roof. This is insane. This is the law. And trust me, I hate it as much as you do. Kovac took a long drink of coffee. But I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep digging. Talk to more people. Find something concrete. We don't have time. His 12 hours are almost up. Then convince her to talk. Get her to make an official statement. That's the only way I can help her. Samuel walked back inside feeling like he was drowning. He understood now why Lydia had chosen the river. Sometimes the water looked like the only escape. At 9 p.m., Marcus returned. Samuel intercepted him in the hallway. She's sleeping. The doctor ordered rest. Then I'll sit with her quietly. Marcus's smile was pleasant, immovable. I'm her fiancé, Dr. Chun. You can't keep me from her. Actually, I can. Hospital policy allows patients to refuse visitors. Has she refused me? No, she hadn't. She was too afraid to. I'll ask her, Samuel said. You do that. Samuel went into Lydia's room. She was indeed sleeping, or pretending to. He touched her shoulder gently. Her eyes flew open, wild with panic. Then she saw his face and relaxed slightly. Marcus is here, Samuel said quietly. Do you want to see him? Terror flashed across her face. Then resignation. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. No, I don't. He'll make a scene. He'll call lawyers. He'll find a way. She sat up, pushed her hair back. Let him in. Lydia. Please. Just stay close. Don't leave me alone with him. Samuel nodded. He opened the door. Marcus entered like a man walking into his own home. Sweetheart. He went to her, took her hand. She let him. How are you feeling? Tired. Of course. You've been through so much. He glanced at Samuel. Could we have some privacy, doctor? No, Lydia said quickly. Too quickly. I mean, Dr. Chin needs to monitor my vitals. Hospital protocol. It wasn't true, but Marcus seemed to accept it. Well then. Marcus pulled up a chair. sat close to the bed. I've been thinking about everything. About us. About what happened. Marcus. Let me finish. His voice was gentle, but his grip on her hand tightened. Samuel saw her wince. I know you've been stressed. The wedding, the attention, all the planning. It's a lot for someone with your sensitivity. Your weakness, he meant. I think we should postpone the wedding indefinitely, Marcus continued. Give you time to recover. See a therapist, maybe. Work through whatever caused this episode. It wasn't an episode. Of course it was. Healthy people don't end up in rivers, Lydia. He smiled. But that's okay. We'll get you help. I know an excellent psychiatrist. Very discreet. He specializes in, well, women's issues. Samuel felt his hands curl into fists. I'm not crazy, Lydia said. No one said you were crazy. Just fragile. Which is why I think you should come home with me tonight. I've set up the guest room with everything you need. Complete rest. No stress. I'll take care of everything. I want to stay here. The doctors have cleared you, sweetheart. There's no medical reason to stay. I want to stay, she repeated, louder now that Marcus's expression hardened. Lydia, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. I nearly died. I want to stay somewhere I feel safe. The temperature dropped. Marcus's hand tightened further on hers. You don't feel safe with me? I didn't say that. You implied it. His voice was still soft, but there was rage underneath. After everything I've done for you, after I've devoted myself to you, sacrificed for you, loved you, you don't love me. You owe me. There's a difference. The words hung in the air like broken glass. Marcus stood slowly. His face was a mask, but his eyes were black with fury. You're upset. You're not thinking clearly. We'll discuss this when you're rational. I'm rational now. More rational than I've been in 18 months. Lydia. He leaned down, his face inches from hers. Don't do this. Don't throw away everything we've built. You built a cage. I'm just finally seeing the bars. Marcus straightened. He looked at Samuel. This is your fault. You filled her head with ideas. Played the hero. Made her think she needs saving. She does need saving, Samuel said quietly. From you. That's slander. I could sue you for that. Try it. For a moment, Samuel thought Marcus might hit him. His hands clenched, his body coiled. But then he smiled, that politician's smile, all teeth and no warmth. I'll be back tomorrow, he said to Lydia. With my lawyer and a psychiatrist. We'll sort this out properly. He left without another word. The room felt safer without him. Lydia was shaking. He's going to have me committed. He's going to say I'm mentally unstable, that I tried to kill myself. He'll get a judge to sign off on it. I'll disappear into some private facility, and no one will ever hear from me again. You can't do that. You're not a danger to yourself. I nearly drowned. I'm a classical case for involuntary commitment. She looked at Samuel with desperate eyes. You don't understand how powerful he is. How many people owe him favors. Then we get ahead of him. You talk to Detective Kovac. You tell her everything. You press charges. For what? Grabbing my arm? That's assault, misdemeanor at best. He'll pay a fine and walk away. Then we prove he pushed you into the river. We can't. There's no evidence. Samuel thought hard. There had to be something. Some way to his phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Patel. Check Lydia's tox screen results. Something odd that he pulled up the lab results on his phone, scanned through them quickly, and stopped. Lydia, were you taking any medications last night? No. Why? Your blood work shows traces of lorazepam. It's a sedative. I don't take sedatives. Could Marcus have given you something? Slipped something in your drink? Her face went white. At the rehearsal dinner, he gave me a glass of wine. Said it would help me relax. Did you feel strange afterward? I felt foggy. Disconnected. I thought it was just nerves. Samuel's mind raced. If he drugged you, that changes everything. It proves premeditation. It proves he planned whatever happened at the river. But we can't prove he was the one who gave me the lorazepam. No. But it's evidence. It's a start. He called Detective Kovac immediately. Kovac arrived within 20 minutes. She took Lydia's statement, all of it this time. The controlling behavior, the pregnancy, the abortion, the fight at the river, the drugs in her system. This is good, Kovac said when Lydia finished. This is something I can work with. I'll get a warrant for Thorne's phone records, see if we can place him at the river at the right time. I'll search his apartment for lorazepam. He's too smart for that, Lydia said. He'll have disposed of any evidence. Maybe, but people make mistakes. Even smart people. What should I do? Stay here. Stay safe. Don't talk to him without a lawyer present. I'm going to get you protective custody. He'll fight that. He'll claim I'm unstable. Let him try. Once I tell a judge about the drugs, about the pattern of control, they'll take it seriously. Lydia nodded, but she didn't look convinced. What if it's not enough? Then we find something else. But you took the first step. You told the truth. That matters. After Kovac left, Samuel stayed with Lydia. They didn't talk much. She was exhausted, emotionally wrung out. He just sat in the chair by her bed, a quiet presence. Around midnight, she finally spoke. Why are you doing this? I told you. I failed someone once. I don't want to fail again. But it's more than that. Samuel was quiet for a long time. In Chicago, he said finally. After Jessica Moreno died, I tried to make it right. I talked to her family. I apologized. I offered to cover her funeral costs. But her husband, he just looked at me and said, "You don't get to fix this. You don't get absolution. You just have to live with what you've done." That's cruel. No. It was honest. He looked at Lydia. I came to Portland to run away from that. But running doesn't work. The guilt follows you. So when I saw you in that river, I thought maybe this is my chance. Maybe if I save one person, it'll balance out losing another. That's not how it works. I know. But it's all I have. Lydia reached out, took his hand. Thank you. For saving me. For believing me. For staying. I'm not going anywhere. At 3 a.m. Samuel's phone rang. Detective Kovac. We've got a problem, she said without preamble. Thorne's lawyer filed an emergency petition. They're claiming Lydia is mentally unstable and a danger to herself. They've got a psychiatrist who'll testify she needs immediate evaluation. Based on what? The suicide attempt. Her erratic behavior. Thorne's testimony that she's been having delusions. That's bullshit. She's not delusional. I know that. You know that. But Thorne's lawyer is good, and they're moving fast. There's a hearing at 9 this morning. If the judge signs off, they can take her into custody. We won't let that happen. Sam, they might not give us a choice. If a judge orders psychiatric evaluation, we have to comply. Then we need evidence. Something that proves Thorne is lying. I'm working on it. But I need time. We don't have time. I know. Samuel hung up. Looked at Lydia. She was awake, had heard every word. It's over, she said quietly. He's going to win. No. We're going to fight this. How? Good question. Samuel thought about Marcus. About his perfect record, his careful image. About how he'd tampered with birth control but couldn't be proven. How he drugged Lydia but couldn't be caught. Men like Marcus made one critical mistake. They underestimated the people they hurt. We need to make him confess, Samuel said. He'll never do that. Not to police. But maybe to you. Lydia sat up. What are you suggesting? Call him. Tell him you want to talk. Tell him you're sorry, that you were confused, that you want to work things out. He'll know I'm lying. Maybe. But his ego won't let him refuse. He needs to win. He needs to control the narrative. And then what? You record the conversation. Get him to admit what happened. Admit he drugged you. Admit he pushed you. He's a lawyer. He won't incriminate himself. He will if he thinks he's already won. If he thinks you're broken. Lydia considered this. You want me to bait him. I want you to trap him. Same way he's been trapping you. It's risky. Everything is risky right now. She was quiet. Then, okay, let's do it. At 7 a.m., Lydia called Marcus from the hospital phone. Samuel and Detective Kovac listened on speaker. Marcus. Lydia's voice was small, vulnerable. It's me. Lydia. He sounded relieved, victorious. I knew you'd come to your senses. I'm sorry. About everything. I wasn't thinking clearly. The stress, the wedding, I panicked. I know, sweetheart. It's okay. We'll get through this. I want to see you. Can you come to the hospital? Of course. I'm already on my way. I have the lawyer with me, and Dr. Patterson, the psychiatrist I mentioned. No, I mean just you. Just us. I need to talk to you alone. A pause. Are you sure? Please, Marcus. I need you. Okay. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Kovac looked at Lydia. You're doing great. When he gets here, keep him talking. Get him comfortable. People confess when they feel safe. What if he doesn't confess? Then we try something else. But this is our best shot. Marcus arrived at 7:30 a.m. Samuel let him into Lydia's room, then positioned himself just outside the door, out of sight but close enough to help if needed. Kovac was in the hallway with recording equipment. You look better, Marcus said to Lydia. He sat beside her bed, took her hand. More like yourself. I feel clearer. Like I'm seeing things properly again. Good. That's good. I've been so worried about you. I know. I'm sorry I scared you. It's okay. You weren't in control. That's not your fault. But I need to understand what happened. At the river. It's all so foggy. Marcus tensed slightly. What do you remember? I remember fighting with you. I remember running. And then? Nothing until I woke up in the water. You fell. You were hysterical and you ran and you fell. But how did I fall? The riverbank isn't that steep. You were disoriented. From the medication. Lydia's eyes widened. What medication? Marcus realized his mistake. His expression shuddered. Your anxiety medication. You must have taken too much. I don't take anxiety medication. Yes, you do. You've been taking it for months. No, Marcus. I haven't. She pulled her hand away. Did you give me something? At the rehearsal dinner. You're confused again. This is exactly why you need help. I'm not confused. You drugged me. You followed me to the river. And you, she stopped, tears in her eyes. Did you push me? Of course not. Why would I do that? Because of the scar. Because you figured out what I did. Marcus went very still. What you did? The baby. The abortion. You knew, didn't you? For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. Then he stood, walked to the window. When he spoke, his voice was cold. You killed my child. You looked me in the eye, told me you'd miscarried, and you were lying the whole time. Do you have any idea what that feels like? I had a choice. It was my body. It was our baby. Our future. You had no right. I had every right. You don't own me, Marcus. You don't own my body or my choices. He turned on her. I gave you everything. I made you someone. Before me, you were a mediocre pianist playing in hotel lobbies. I elevated you. I gave you status, connections, a future. And you repay me by murdering my child. So you tried to murder me. I should have. The words exploded out of him. I should have held you under that water until you stopped breathing. You deserved it. After what you did, after the lies, you deserved to drown. Silence. Marcus realized what he'd said. His face went white. But I didn't, he said quickly. I pulled you out. I saved you. I called for help. No, you didn't. Lydia's voice was steady now. Dr. Chin saved me. You left me there. That's not true. You're making things up again. You're delusional. The door opened. Detective Kovac walked in, phone in hand. Every word recorded, she said. Marcus Thorne, you're under arrest for attempted murder. Marcus looked at Lydia. The hatred in his eyes was pure, undiluted. You set me up. I survived you, Lydia said. That's all. The trial took 4 months. Marcus's lawyer tried everything. Claimed the recording was inadmissible. claimed Lydia had entrapped him, claimed she was mentally unstable and her testimony unreliable. But the evidence was overwhelming. The drugs in her system, the bruises, the phone tracking data that placed Marcus at the river, and most damning, his own recorded confession. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: attempted murder, assault, administering drugs without consent. Marcus Thorne was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Lydia testified at the sentencing hearing. She stood in front of the court, poised and calm, and told her story from beginning to end. She didn't cry. She didn't falter. She simply told the truth. Marcus Thorne took 1.5 years of my life, she said. He took my autonomy, my career, my joy. He nearly took my life. But he didn't succeed. I survived. And I want every woman in a relationship like mine to know, you can survive too. You deserve to survive. And you deserve justice. The courtroom erupted in applause. Samuel attended the trial every day he wasn't in surgery. He watched Lydia transform from the terrified woman in the hospital bed to someone stronger, fiercer, someone whole. After the sentencing, they met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. Rain hammered against the windows, Portland being Portland. You did it, Samuel said. We did it. You, me, Detective Kovac. It took all of us. What will you do now? Lydia smiled, the first real smile he'd seen from her. Berlin called. The position is still available if I want it. 3 years with the Philharmonic. Are you going to take it? I already accepted. That's wonderful. It is. She looked at him. What about you? Will you stay in Portland? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it's time to stop running. From Chicago. From myself. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the rain. You saved my life, Lydia said eventually. I never properly thanked you for that. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. But more than that, you believed me when no one else did. You fought for me. You gave me the courage to fight for myself. You always had that courage. You just needed a reason to use it. Maybe. She reached across the table, squeezed his hand. Will you visit me? In Berlin? I'd like that. Good. She stood, gathered her coat. I leave next week. Fresh start. Fresh start, Samuel echoed. She left. He watched her go. This woman he'd pulled from the river. This woman who'd pulled herself from something worse. His phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Patel. Mrs. Alvarez is asking for you. Surgery went perfectly. She wants to thank you. Samuel smiled. He finished his coffee, left money on the table, and walked out into the rain. The hospital was 15 blocks away, but he didn't mind walking. He needed the time to think. For 5 years, he'd carried Jessica Moreno's death like a stone in his chest. He'd thought saving someone would absolve him. But absolution didn't work that way. You couldn't trade one life for another. You couldn't balance the scales. What you could do was keep moving forward. Keep trying. Keep saving the people you could save and learning to live with the ones you couldn't. He thought about what Lydia had said. Fresh start. Maybe it was time. 3 months later, Samuel received a postcard from Berlin. A picture of a concert hall, elegant and grand. On the back in neat handwriting. Playing tonight. Thinking of you. Thank you for pulling me from the river. Thank you for showing me I was worth saving. Samuel pinned the postcard to his refrigerator. Every morning he saw it while making coffee. Every morning it reminded him. Some people drown, and some people swim. The difference is who's there to pull you up when you can't do it yourself. And sometimes, the people you save end up saving you back. 2 weeks after the postcard arrived, Samuel got a call from a number he didn't recognize. Dr. Chun? A woman's voice, hesitant. My name is Rachel Moreno. I'm Jessica Moreno's sister. Samuel's breath caught. I remember Jessica. I'm so sorry for. I know you are. I've known for 5 years. She paused. My brother-in-law, Jessica's husband, he gave me your information. I wanted to call sooner, but I needed time. I understand. I wanted you to know something. Jessica had a heart condition. Genetic. She'd been managing it her whole life, but she knew the surgery was risky. She told me before she went under. She said if anything happened, it wouldn't be your fault. She said she trusted you." Samuel couldn't speak. "You made a mistake," Rachel continued. "But you're also the reason she lived long enough to see her daughter born. That valve replacement you did 3 years earlier, that bought her time. Time she wouldn't have had otherwise. I didn't know she had a daughter. She named her Sophia. She's 8 now. Beautiful, smart, just like her mom." Rachel's voice broke. "I'm not saying what happened is okay. It's not. We lost Jessica, and that's a wound that never fully heals. But you gave her 3 extra years. 3 years of birthdays and Christmases and bedtime stories. That matters. You matter." After she hung up, Samuel sat in his apartment for a long time. The guilt didn't disappear. It would never fully disappear. But something shifted. The weight became bearable. 6 months later, Samuel attended a medical conference in Berlin. He told himself it was for professional development. He told himself it had nothing to do with a certain pianist performing at the Philharmonie. But on his second night in the city, he bought a ticket to the concert. Lydia was transcendent. She played Rachmaninoff with such passion and precision that the audience sat breathless. This was what she'd been meant to do. This was the life Marcus had tried to steal. After the performance, Samuel waited by the stage door. When Lydia emerged, still in her concert dress, her face lit up. "You came." "I was in the neighborhood." She laughed, hugged him. "Liar. But I'm glad." They walked through Berlin streets, talking about everything and nothing. She told him about the orchestra, about her apartment overlooking the Spree, about rediscovering herself. He told her about Mrs. Alvarez's recovery, about Rachel Moreno's phone call, about slowly learning to forgive himself. "You seem different," Lydia observed. "Lighter." "So do you." "We're both learning to live on the surface," she said, "instead of drowning in our past." They stopped on a bridge over the river. The water moved beneath them, dark and endless. "Do you ever think about that morning?" Lydia asked. "The river in Portland?" "Every day." "Do you regret saving me?" "Never. Not once." She leaned against the railing, looked at the water. "I used to think drowning would be peaceful, like falling asleep. But it's not. It's violent and terrifying and lonely. You think your lungs will burst. You think the darkness will never end. But it did end. Because of you." She turned to him. "You know what the hardest part is? Learning to trust the surface. Learning that I don't have to drown anymore. That I can just swim." "Are you swimming?" "Yes. Finally." She smiled. "What about you?" Samuel thought about it. For 5 years he'd been underwater, holding his breath, waiting for something to change. But change didn't come from waiting. It came from choosing to surface. "I'm learning," he said. They stayed in touch after Berlin. Emails, video calls, occasional visits when schedules aligned. They weren't romantic. That wasn't what they needed from each other. They were something more essential. Witnesses to each other's survival. A year after the trial, Detective Kovac sent Samuel a news article. Marcus Thorne had been attacked in prison by another inmate. He survived but was transferred to protective custody. The article speculated he'd made enemies by taking cases defending abusers. "Karma," Kovac wrote in the email. Samuel didn't respond. He'd stopped thinking about Marcus Thorne. He'd stopped giving him that PowerPoint 2 years after pulling Lydia from the river. Samuel stood in an operating room performing a complex coronary bypass on a 16-year-old girl with congenital heart disease. Her name was Emma, and she wanted to be a dancer. The surgery was delicate, dangerous. One wrong move could end her life. Samuel's hands were steady. His mind was clear. He made each incision with precision, each suture with care. He thought about Jessica Moreno, about the mistake that had haunted him. He thought about Lydia, about the choice to save her. He thought about all the lives he'd held in his hands over 15 years of surgery. Some he'd saved. Some he'd lost. Some had changed him. The surgery took 6 hours. When Emma's heart started beating on its own, strong and steady, the surgical team erupted in quiet celebration. Samuel stepped back, peeled off his gloves, and felt something he hadn't felt in years: pride. Not the arrogant pride of perfection, but the humble pride of doing his best and having it be enough. 3 years after the river, Samuel received an invitation in the mail. Heavy cardstock, elegant script. You are cordially invited to attend a concert performance by Lydia Brennan at Carnegie Hall, New York City. He booked a flight immediately. The concert was sold out. Samuel sat in the balcony, watching Lydia command the stage with confidence and grace. She'd cut her hair short. She wore a deep blue dress instead of black. She looked free. During the intermission, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Look up. He looked. 2 rows ahead, a woman was waving. He didn't recognize her at first, then Rachel Moreno, Jessica's sister. After the concert, they met in the lobby. Rachel introduced him to her niece Sophia, 9 years old now, with her mother's dark hair and bright eyes. This is Dr. Chun, Rachel told Sophia. He knew your mom. Did you help her? Sophia asked. Samuel knelt to her eye level. I tried to. I didn't do everything perfectly, but I tried my best. That's what Aunt Rachel says. She says trying your best is what matters. Your aunt is very wise. Sophia smiled. I know. Rachel squeezed Samuel's shoulder. Thank you for coming. It means more than you know. Thank you for reaching out. For telling me about Sophia. It helped. We all need help sometimes. Even doctors. Backstage, Samuel found Lydia surrounded by admirers and well-wishers. When she saw him, she excused herself and rushed over. You came. All the way to New York. Wouldn't have missed it. You were extraordinary. I felt extraordinary. This is what I was meant to do, you know? This is who I am. I know. They found a quiet corner away from the crowd. Lydia's expression turned serious. I heard about Marcus. The attack. So did I. Do you think he'll ever get out? Eventually. Maybe in 10 years with good behavior. But that's not our problem anymore. No, Lydia agreed. It's not. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the post-concert chaos swirl around them. I think about that morning sometimes, Lydia said. About how close I came. How if you'd been 30 seconds later, or if you'd walked a different route. But I didn't. I was there. Yes, you were there. She looked at him. Do you believe in fate? I believe in choices. You chose to fight. I chose to jump in. Those choices led us here. To Carnegie Hall. To survival. Lydia smiled. I like that better than fate. 5 years after the river, Samuel received another invitation. This one was simpler. A phone call. Dr. Chun, this is Dr. Patricia Wong from St. Mercy. I'm taking over as Chief of Cardiovascular Surgery. I'd like you to consider coming back to Portland as my deputy chief. I appreciate the offer, but I'm settled in Boston now. I know, but Portland needs good surgeons. And from what I hear, you're one of the best. I'm just someone who tries. That's exactly what we need. Someone who tries. Someone who cares. Samuel thought about it. Boston was safe. Boston had no memories, no ghosts. But Portland had the river. It had the place where everything changed. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. He called Lydia that night. She was in Paris for a performance. Portland, she said. Would you go back? I don't know. It feels like going backward. Or going full circle. Completing something you started. Maybe. What does your gut say? My gut says I'm terrified. Lydia laughed. That's how you know it's the right choice. 6 months later, Samuel stood on the Morrison Bridge, looking down at the Willamette River. 5 years, 8 months, and 12 days since he'd pulled Lydia from the water. The river looked different now. Less dark. Less menacing. Just water moving as water does, carrying its secrets downstream. He'd accepted the position at St. Mercy. His apartment was 10 blocks from the hospital just like before. But this time he wasn't running. He was choosing. His phone rang. Lydia. Are you at the river? She asked without preamble. How did you know? 'Cause I would be too. If I were you. I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to feel. Standing here. What do you feel? Samuel considered. Grateful. Sad. Hopeful. All of it at once. That sounds about right. How's Paris? Lonely. I'm coming back to the States next month. New York Philharmonic offered me a position. That's incredible. It is. And Samuel. Yeah. Thank you. For everything. For saving me. For believing me. For showing me I was stronger than I thought. You showed yourself that. I just held the door open. Maybe. But sometimes that's all someone needs. Someone to hold the door. After they hung up, Samuel stayed on the bridge for a while longer. He thought about Jessica Moreno, about the mistake that had defined him. He thought about Lydia, about the choice that had redeemed him. He thought about all the patients past and future, all the lives he'd touch. You couldn't save everyone. Medicine had taught him that. Life had taught him that. But you could save someone. And sometimes that someone saved you back. Samuel walked off the bridge toward St. Mercy Hospital. His shift started in an hour. Mrs. Park needed a bypass. Mr. Chun, no relation, needed a valve replacement. Emma, the dancer, was coming in for a follow-up. People needed him. And for the first time in 6 years he felt ready. Ready to try. Ready to fail. Ready to succeed. Ready to save lives, including his own. Behind him the river flowed on, dark and deep and eternal. But Samuel didn't look back, he was done drowning. He was learning to swim. 10 years later, the email arrived on a Tuesday morning. Dr. Chun, you saved my mother from the river 10 years ago. You've never met me, but I've wanted to thank you my whole life. My name is Hope. My mother is Lydia Brennan. She told me the story when I was old enough to understand. She said you gave her a second chance at life, and that second chance led to me. I'm starting pre-med at Columbia this fall. I want to be a surgeon like you. Could we meet? Hope. Samuel stared at the email for a long time. Then he smiled and typed his reply. Hope, I'd be honored. Your mother gave me a second chance too. That's what people do for each other. Let's meet when you're in Portland. I'll tell you everything I know about being a surgeon. First lesson. You can't save everyone. But you have to try anyway. Dr. Chun. He hit send. Outside his office window, the Willamette River sparkled in the autumn sunlight. Some endings, he thought, are really beginnings, and some rescues last a lifetime.